Welcome to Bankruptcy Unlocked, your legal path to relief.
Welcome to Overcoming the Stigma of Bankruptcy, Why Society's View Shouldn't Hold You Back. I'm your host, Abigail Vaca, and I'm joined by the founder of the law offices of Andrew H. Griffin III. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So Andrew, what do you think is the most common misconception people have about bankruptcy?
Well, one of the most common misconceptions people have about bankruptcy is that it's a sign of failure or the end of the road. Many people believe that filing for bankruptcy means that they've hit rock bottom and that it will permanently ruin their financial future. But the truth is, bankruptcy is far from a dead end. It's actually a tool designed to help people rebuild and start fresh. Bankruptcy exists because life happens. People face unexpected challenges like medical emergencies, job loss, divorce, or the economic impact of a global pandemic. This can turn even the best financial plans upside down. Bankruptcy provides a legal path to relief, helping individuals and families regain control of their finances and move forward. Another misconception is that bankruptcy will destroy your credit forever. While it does impact your credit in the short term, many people are surprised to learn how quickly they can start rebuilding. In fact, some clients find their credit scores improve within a year or two because they've eliminated unmanageable debt and can focus on building a stronger financial foundation. Finally, there's the stigma around bankruptcy, the idea that it's something to be ashamed of. But we remind our clients that they're not alone. Millions of people file for bankruptcy every year, and it's a courageous step toward taking back control. It's not about failure. It's about facing challenges head on and using the tools available to create a better future. At its core, bankruptcy is about opportunity and empowerment. That's the message we work hard to share with our clients and our community.
I appreciate that. You're definitely right. I feel like many people view bankruptcy as a last resort or a failure of sorts. How do you address this stigma with your clients to help them see it as a path to financial recovery instead?
Well, that's such an important question because the stigma surrounding bankruptcy can be one of the biggest barriers for people considering it. Many people see it as a last resort or personal failure, but we work hard to shift this perspective for our clients and help them see bankruptcy for what it truly is, a powerful tool for financial recovery. The first thing we do is remind our clients that they're not alone. Life happens and unexpected events like medical emergencies, job loss, or divorce, or can derail anyone's finances. In fact, millions of Americans file for bankruptcy every year, and many of them are hardworking, responsible people who simply hit a rough patch. We also emphasize that bankruptcy is not an ending. It's a new beginning. It's a way to take control of your situation, eliminate overwhelming debt, and start fresh. By resetting your financial footings, you're giving yourself the opportunity to rebuild and create a stable future. Another key of addressing the stigma is education. We help our clients understand that bankruptcy is a legal process designed to provide relief. It's not about failure. It's about empowerment again. And many successful people, from entrepreneurs to public figures, have used bankruptcy as a stepping stone to bounce back even stronger. We tell our clients, you're taking a proactive step to address the problem and move forward. That's something to be proud of. Once they see the bankruptcy as a pathway to recovery instead of a dead end, they feel more confident and optimistic about their future. At the end of the day, again, our mission is to provide support, guidance, and hope. Bankruptcy is a tool for rebuilding, and we're here to help our clients use it to their advantage.
Can you talk more about how society's stigma around bankruptcy affects the decisions that people make when they're facing financial hardship?
Sure. Society's stigma around bankruptcy can have a significant impact on the decisions people make when they're facing financial hardship, often in ways that are detrimental to the long-term financial health. For starters, the stigma makes many people hesitate even to consider bankruptcy as an option. Instead of seeking help early, they may try to tough it out. They'll deplete their savings, they'll borrow from retirement accounts, or take on even more high-interest debt like payday loans or credit cards. These short-term solutions can worsen their financial situation, leaving them with fewer resources when they finally decide they need help. Another way stigma affects decisions is by making people feel isolated or shamed. When someone internalizes the idea that bankruptcy equals failure, they're less likely to talk openly about their struggles or seek advice from professionals who can provide real solutions. They may rely on misinterpretation or misinformation or attempt to handle things on their own, which can lead to costly mistakes or missed opportunities for relief. The irony is that the stigma is completely misplaced. Bankruptcy isn't about failure. It's about taking control and using a legal tool designed to help people recover. Unfortunately, societal judgment can cloud the perspective, making individuals wait longer than they should to file or avoid it altogether, sometimes at the expense of their mental health, sometimes at the expense of their relationships, and sometimes at the expense of financial future. Our goals as attorneys is to counter that stigma with education and empathy. We remind our clients that they're not alone and that seeking relief through bankruptcy is a responsible, courageous step towards a better future. By normalizing the conversation around bankruptcy and emphasizing its purpose as a financial reset, we hope to help people make informed, proactive decisions that lead to lasting recovery.
There's definitely a lot of shame around bankruptcy for sure. What advice would you give someone who feels ashamed or embarrassed about filing for bankruptcy?
My advice to anyone feeling ashamed or embarrassed about filing for bankruptcy is this: give yourself grace and remember that you're not alone. Bankruptcy is not a reflection of your worth or character. It's a legal tool designed to help people recover from financial challenges, many of which are beyond their control. Life happens. Job losses, medical emergencies, divorces, or economic downturns can impact anyone, no matter how careful or responsible they've been. The truth is, millions of people file for bankruptcy every year, and many of them go on to rebuild their lives and thrive financially. One thing I always emphasize is that filing for bankruptcy is not a failure. It's a proactive step. You're taking control of your situation and choosing to address your financial challenges head on rather than letting them dictate your future. That's something to be proud of, not ashamed of. It's also important to know that the bankruptcy process is confidential. Your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, and they won't know unless you choose to tell them. This can be reassuring for people who worry about judgment from others. Most importantly, I encourage people to focus on the future. Bankruptcy is a fresh start, a chance to wipe the slate clean and rebuild your financial life with the knowledge and tools you've gained from this experience. Instead of dwelling on the feeling of embarrassment, shift your energy towards what comes next: creating a budget, rebuilding your credit, and setting financial goals. Remember, seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. You're making a decision to prioritize your well-being and take charge of your financial future, and that's something to be proud of.
I want to pivot back to something you just said. Some people believe bankruptcy will ruin their credit forever. How long does it typically take for someone to rebuild their credit after filing?
One of the most common misconceptions about bankruptcy is that it will ruin your credit forever, but that simply is not true. While bankruptcy does impact your credit in the short term, it's entirely possible to rebuild and even improve your credit score within a relatively short period. The timeline for building or rebuilding your credit depends on a few factors, including your financial habits after filing. For most people, though, bankruptcy remains on their credit report for 7 to 10 years, 7 years for Chapter 13 and 10 years for Chapter 7. However, the impact of the bankruptcy lessens over time, especially if you take proactive steps to rebuild your credit. In fact, many people start seeing improvements in their credit score within 12 to 18 months after filing. Why? Because bankruptcy eliminates the debt, or they eliminates the burden of overwhelming debt, which can improve your debt to income ratio and give you a clean slate to focus on positive, creative, or credit habits. Steps like paying your bills on time, keeping your credit utilizations low, and utilizing secured credit cards or small loans. If you use them responsibly, you can significantly accelerate the rebuilding process. Creditors look at your recent financial behavior, so demonstrating that you're managing your finances responsibly post-bankruptcy can help you rebuild faster. It's also worth mentioning that filing for bankruptcy may actually improve your financial situations in the short term. If you are already behind on payments or maxed out on credit, Your score might start to recover as those negative marks are resolved through the bankruptcy process. The key takeaway here is that bankruptcy is not a permanent mark against you. It's a fresh start. With that right, guidance and commitment to the rebuilding, you can regain financial stability and achieve a strong credit profile much sooner than you might think.
What you just said is really interesting because there's a misconception that bankruptcy means losing everything. What are some of the protections people may not realize exist that allow them to retain important assets?
One of the biggest misconceptions about bankruptcy is that it means losing everything you own. This couldn't be further from the truth. Bankruptcy laws are designed to provide relief while also protecting people's ability to maintain a basic standard of living and rebuild their financial future. For starters, bankruptcy offers exemptions or protections for certain types of property that you're allowed to keep. These exemptions vary by state and state, but typically they cover essential assets like your home, your car, your personal belongings, and your retirement accounts. For example, many people can retain their primary residence under a homestead exemption as long as the equity in the home falls within a certain limits. Similarly, vehicles up to a certain value are also exempt, allowing people to keep transportation they need for work or daily life. Retirement accounts such as 401ks and IRAs are also typically protected. This means your future financial security is a safeguard even as you address your current challenges. In Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you don't lose any assets because it's a reorganization process rather than liquidation. You create a repayment plan to manage your debts while keeping your property. Even in Chapter 7, which doesn't involve the potential sale of non-exempt assets, most people qualify for exemptions that allow them to retain nearly everything they own. A key part of our job as bankruptcy attorneys is to help people or help clients understand what protections apply to them and to maximize those protections. We ensure that exemptions are used strategically to safeguard as many assets as possible. So the reality is that bankruptcy doesn't mean starting over with nothing. Instead, it's about creating a foundation for a fresh start with the tools and assets you need to rebuild and move forward.
So do you think that stigma surrounding bankruptcy is changing on a large scale? And if so, what factors do you think are contributing to that shift in public perception?
I do think the stigma surrounding bankruptcy is starting to change, and that's a very positive development. While there's still some societal judgment, more and more people are beginning to see bankruptcy for what it truly is, a legal tool to help individuals and businesses recover from financial difficulties and get a fresh start. One major factor contributing to this shift is increased awareness and education. Thanks to the internet and social media, people have better access to reliable information about bankruptcy. They're learning that it's not a moral failing, but a practical solution to address overwhelming debt. As people hear stories of others who successfully rebuild their lives after bankruptcy, it helps normalize the process and reduce the shame often associated with it. Another big factor is the impact of widespread economic events. The 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic, for example, highlighted how quickly financial stability can change due to factors beyond our control. These events have made it clear that even the most responsible people can face financial hardship, and there's no shame in using the tools available to recover. We've also seen a cultural shift in how we talk about financial wellness. People are becoming more open about money struggles, which helps break down the taboo about surrounding bankruptcy. This openness creates space for honest conversations and makes it easier for individuals to seek help when they need it. And finally, I think the legal and financial communities are playing a role in reframing bankruptcy as a smart, proactive, and choice rather than a last resort. As bankruptcy attorneys, part of our mission is to change the narrative and show people that bankruptcy is a fresh start, not a failure. The shift in public perceptions is encouraging, and we hope it continues. When people feel less stigmatized, they're more likely to take the steps needed to regain control of their financial future.
You're absolutely right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andrew.
Once again, it's been my pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for Overcoming the Stigma of Bankruptcy: Why Society's View Shouldn't Hold You Back.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.